Early morning light, sifting through the tall, cold panes of the courtroom windows, casts long, sharp shadows across the polished wood floor. The air is thick, heavy with tension, and faintly scented with old paper and oiled wood. Just the barest hint of nervous perspiration. Every step on the marble echoes like a heartbeat, loud and insistent, reminding them that here, the outside world has little bearing. Kody enters first, stiff in his shoulders, eyes darting from one face to another, as if trying to predict the storm that's about to unfold. There's a stiffness in his posture, an almost mechanical precision in his movements, betraying the anxiety he refuses to admit. Behind him, Robyn follows quietly. Her hands are clasped tightly in front of her, fingernails digging into her palms until the skin turns white. Her jaw is set, but her eyes tell another story, a storm inside, a mix of fear, heartbreak, and simmering anger. Christine enters next, her heels clicking sharply against the floor with each step, each tap an omen. She wears an aura of calm defiance, but her eyes are sharp and calculating, as if she is already many moves into a game no one else truly understands. Janelle and Meri follow quietly, whispering soft reassurances to themselves, as though chanting some kind of prayer to ward off the emotional wreckage they would soon be witnessing. The judge clears her voice, and the silence in the room is almost smothering. The gavel comes down with clarity and firmness. A trial whose outcome no one is certain of is now in session. The first witness is called forward, a family friend from years gone by, loyal to a fault and privy to intimate details, a person whose testimony may be nothing short of explosive. They make their way to the stand. Even the way they walk seems tentative, as if the weight of all those eyes in the courtroom could crush them at any moment. The testimony starts out quiet, almost innocuous, detailing minor disputes, fleeting disagreements, and moments that seemed inconsequential at the time. The courtroom listens politely, leaning forward, attentive but unhurried. Kody taps a light cadence with his fingers on the edge of the bench, Robyn's eyes darting furtively. Christine's gaze is steady, calculating every nuance of the witness's expressions. Janelle silently folds her hands tightly in her lap, while Meri wipes away an almost invisible tear, the hint of anxiety threatening to spill over in an overflowing current. But then the tone shifts, subtly, almost imperceptibly. Details that were meant to stay buried rise to the surface. Secret meetings never revealed, veiled threats in hushed tones, alliances formed behind closed doors. Kody moves uncomfortably in his seat, a single bead of sweat forming at his temple. Robyn purses her lips until they are white, her eyes wide with the realization of truths that she thought long buried, now rising to the surface. Christine leans slightly forward, a sharp gaze narrowing, as if daring someone to question her grasp on what has just transpired. And then, without warning, the witness drops a bomb. A revelation surfaces that directly implicates one of the wives in a series of clandestine decisions, actions no one considered, secrets no one thought would ever see the light of day. A soft murmur of gasps ripples through the room, and the judge leans back, raising her eyebrows while forgetting the pen momentarily on her desk. Robyn's eyes lock onto Kody's, a mixture of disbelief, hurt, and silent pleadings burning bright in their depths. Christine's lips firm to a thin line, concealing shock and calculation. The hands of Janelle shake, grasping the folds of her dress, and Meri is biting her lips so hard it has turned white, withholding her tears welling up and beginning to spill. The defense attorney rises, pacing slowly, deliberately, his shoes squeaking lightly against the floor. His voice is smooth, measured, but sharp, challenging the witness's credibility while planting subtle seeds of doubt. Every word seems to hang in the air, heavy, waiting for the right moment to strike. But the witness is steady, their answers carefully measured, each sentence chipping away at the carefully maintained facades within the family. The courtroom is alive with tension, an invisible thread pulling tighter with every exchange, threatening to snap. The witness describes a private confrontation, a long-suppressed memory, detailing conversations and events that nobody outside the family would understand. The room appears to shrink, as if the weight of the testimony presses down on everyone. Kody's usually confident demeanor falters as his hands clench into fists under the table. Robyn is trembling, fighting to hold herself together, her voice barely audible as she mutters under her breath. In Christine's eyes, a glint shines, but her mind is already racing to strategies, defending herself silently, yet subtly shifting blame. Janelle's face whitens as her heart races, trying to understand the betrayal laid bare. Meri's fingers quake around the tissues in her lap, tears welling up as she fights to hold herself together. The tension in the room is palpable, alive and present. It lives and breathes. Every creak of the floor, every rustling of papers, and every slight intake of breath seems magnified. The audience cannot look away, inexorably drawn into the vortex of secrets that threaten to implode everything. Kody squirms uncomfortably in his seat, his eyes darting from Robyn to Christine, hoping to read their faces for any sign of loyalty, guilt, or impending betrayal. Robyn bites her lip, and her eyes sparkle, attempting to find a husband she knows somewhere in the figure implicated by the witness's testimony. Christine's calm outside masks the storm of emotions going on inside as her mind calculates every conceivable angle. Janelle's hands clench tightly, the pressure almost unbearable, while Meri's chest heaves, each breath a struggle against the emotional weight of the courtroom. As the session goes on, the witness continues to supply more information, recounting interactions that show hidden motives, private schemes, and unspoken alliances. The energy in the courtroom is electric, with every eye riveted and every ear straining to capture each nuance. With every word spoken, Kody's frame becomes a little more rigid, as if he were steeling himself for the impact of a truth he has tried desperately to avoid. Robyn's expression cycles through shock, hurt, and held-in rage as her mind speeds along, trying to make sense of the betrayal. Christine's lips curl just a little, a ghost of triumph or vindication hiding behind calculated poise. Janelle's fingers grasp onto the material of her dress until it wrinkles, and the tears finally break through in Meri, tracing down her cheeks in mute acknowledgement of the ache in her heart. The final part of the testimony is almost cinematic in its intensity. The witness stops, looks around the room, lets the silence broaden, magnifying every heartbeat, every pulse of tension. Then, with deliberate weight, they reveal a fact no one saw coming, a revelation that threatens to redefine the balance of trust and power within the family. The courtroom gasps as the magnitude of what has been disclosed sinks in. Kody slumps slightly, Robyn swallows hard, Christine's eyes flash with recognition of the implications, and Janelle and Meri clutch at each other, trembling under the weight of the truth. The gavel strikes, and the courtroom rises for a brief recess. The tension does not release. It hangs, palpable, the room holding its collective breath. In the hallways, whispers ripple, uncertain glances exchanged, alliances shifting in real time. Robyn and Christine share a look, suspicion, fear, and silent understanding tangled together. Kody retreats into a corner, wordless, trying to process the unfolding chaos. Janelle and Meri cling to a shared hope, fragile yet insistent, that the family might somehow survive the revelations. The courtroom hums with an uneasy energy as the trial resumes. Thick, almost tangible anxiety and anticipation permeate the air. Kody sits rigidly at the defense table, his eyes scanning the room in a mixture of dread and disbelief. Robyn sits beside him, her fingers intertwined nervously, rhythmically tapping against her thigh. She breathes shallowly, as though each inhalation could shatter the fragile calm she's trying so desperately to maintain. Christine leans back in her chair, her gaze sharp, almost predatory, as she calculates every expression, every movement, every subtle nuance within the courtroom. Janelle and Meri are silent, almost statuesque, yet the tension is quite palpable in their trembling hams and taut shoulders. The prosecutor calls the next witness, a person no one could have anticipated, a member of the extended family, whose voice carries the weight of secrets buried and unsaid. His mere presence causes an electric charge that instinctively makes the audience in the courtroom lean forward. Every eye follows him as he approaches the stand, his steps hesitant, yet purposeful, the weight of past secrets heavy on his shoulders. At first, the testimony is cautious, almost measured. The witness recounts minor events, small disagreements, whispered arguments, fleeting moments that seemed so inconsequential at the time. Yet, even these early details have an undercurrent of tension in them, a subtle hint that all is not as it appeared to be. Kody's fingers lightly tap against the table, his jaw tight. Robyn's breathing quickens as she listens to apparently innocent details, searching for the sense of the truth buried in the mundane. Christine narrows her eyes, analyzing each word for hidden meaning. Then, bit by bit, almost imperceptibly, the testimony shifts into something far darker. The witness testifies to private conversations, secret alliances, covert actions which nobody had known existed. Kody's shoulders straighten, and his eyes go wide with incredulity. Robyn purses her lips until they're white, but fails to hide the storm of emotions brewing inside her. Christine leans forward, her face hardening, with each word landing like a hammer against the fragile trust inside the family. Janelle bites her lip, her eyes glistening with memories long suppressed, resurfacing. Meri's hands shake in her lap with tension, her suppressed sobs threatening to break free. A witness drops a revelation that hits the room like a lightning strike, an accusation that directly implicates one of the wives in a secret betrayal. The courtroom gasps. The judge's pen hovers momentarily over her notepad, her eyes widening slightly as she tries to process the sudden escalation. Robyn's eyes lock on Kody's, a mixture of pain, disbelief, and silent accusation burning in her gaze. Christine's face is unreadable, a mask that conceals her thoughts even as her mind races. Janelle's fingers clutch at the edge of her dress, knuckles white, and Meri squeezes her tissue tightly, the tremor in her hands betraying her fear. The defense attorney rises, pacing slowly across the courtroom floor. Each step seems deliberate, calculated, almost theatrical. His voice is smooth, measured, and filled with a subtle authority as he challenges the witness's credibility, casting doubt while carefully framing the narrative in the family's favor. But every answer the witness provides seems to dig the family into deeper, darker territory, exposing fractures that no one anticipated. The tension is electric, a palpable force pressing down on everyone in the room. /P, Kody's usually confident veneer begins to crack. His eyes dart between Robyn and Christine, searching for reassurance, a glimmer of control. He finds none. Robyn's face is a storm of emotions, hurt and anger and disbelief, all jumbled together as if each was fighting for dominance in her expression. Christine's calm mask covers a sharp, calculating mind that is ready to exploit every opening. Janelle whispers quietly to herself, as if she is chanting some sort of protective mantra. Meri bites her lip until it bleeds slightly, hanging onto a thin thread of composure. The witness continues, recounting a confrontation that occurred years ago, one that had been kept secret, locked away in the corners of memory. The courtroom seems to shrink as each detail unfolds, the walls pressing inward, amplifying every word, every pause, every subtle gesture. The jury leans forward, captivated, their collective focus intensifying the weight of the moment. Kody shifts uneasily, the veneer of composure slipping further. Robyn trembles, swallowing hard, fighting against the raw emotions threatening to spill. Christine's eyes flash, a hint of triumph or vindication hidden in their depths. Janelle's hands shake slightly, and Meri swallows, her throat tight as if she cannot breathe freely. The testimony grows even more intense as the witness reveals hidden communications, texts, emails, and whispered conversations that paint a picture of manipulation, secrecy, and betrayal. Each disclosure is like a drop of acid, corroding the delicate fabric of trust that holds the family together. Kody's fists clench tightly on the table, veins prominent on his forearms, his knuckles whitening with the force of suppressed frustration. Robyn's lips quiver, tears threatening to fall as she struggles to maintain composure. Christine's sharp gaze pierces every lie, every half-truth, her mind racing to anticipate the fallout. Janelle's eyes dart nervously around the courtroom, while Meri's breathing becomes shallow, punctuated by quiet, trembling sighs. It gets even more intense when the witness hints at evidence that has been kept hidden, something concrete, something that could prove without doubt the web of secrets surrounding the family. The room falls silent, the weight of the possibility hanging in the air. Every pair of eyes is on the witness, hearts pounding in unison with the escalating tension. Kody slouches back in his chair, his face a mask of incredulity. Robyn's shaking hands clutch a crumpled tissue, her knuckles white, eyes wide with shock. Christine leans forward, fingers lightly drumming the edge of the table, working out the next step in this emotionally charged chess game. Janelle's lips are pressed together so tight that they hurt, and Meri's tears finally spill, trailing down her cheeks as she struggles to keep herself together. The judge calls for a short break, but the tension does not let up. The courtroom empties slowly, leaving echoes of whispered fears and shifting allegiances in the air. In the hallways, the wives exchange tense glances, Robyn and Christine's silent understanding tinged with suspicion. Janelle and Meri clinging to one another, seeking comfort in the chaos. Kody retreats into a corner, silent, his mind racing through the implications of every word spoken. As the session closes, one final revelation hangs in the air, unsaid but clear. This witness hints that something even more incriminating is in store. One secret that would turn this entire trial around. The audience holds its collective breath, minds racing with possibilities, needing to know what's next. And the camera lingers on Kody's face, Robyn's shaking hands, Christine's piercing stare, and Janelle and Meri's silent fear. Every expression has a story, and every glance carries meaning unspoken. The first ripples of chaos have begun, and nobody in that courtroom or at home can predict how this storm will resolve. The session ends with hearts racing, minds reeling, and one communal gasp still echoing long after the gavel goes down. The courtroom is alive, electric, with anticipation for the third day in court. Every chair is full. Every eye faces forward. Kody enters first, his movements tight and controlled, calculated. But beneath that facade, there's a quiver in his shoulders that betrays the storm within. Robyn follows, her footsteps almost silent, but deliberate, hands folded tightly in her lap, her nails digging into her palms, as if she can anchor herself to something substantial amidst the chaos. The sound of Christine's heels can be heard clicking sharply against the floor, the echo of each step a warning. She moves with poise, her eyes scanning around the room in a calculated and anticipating manner. Janelle and Meri bring up the rear, their whispered reassurances to one another tumbling out in a string of quick, almost panicked promises, their voices shaking with the tension coursing through their veins. The judge clears her throat. The courtroom grows silent, the calm before the storm of emotions. Today's witness is the last person anyone would have predicted, a one-time confidant with intimate knowledge of the family's private affairs. The very moment he enters the room, the atmosphere changes. All eyes gravitate toward him, all ears strain to hear a word. His mere presence ripples anticipation, a prelude to the revelations to come. At first, their testimony seems measured, cautious. They describe what happened with a measured neutrality, small conflicts, minor disputes, and passing moments that, in retrospect, seemed inconsequential at the time. Kody's fingers lightly drum on the table as his jaw clenches, showing tension he never voices. Robyn's eyes flicker with recognition and unease. Small things take her back to memories she had long tried to bury. Christine's gaze is sharp, analytical, as she looks for the meaning beneath the words of every sentence. Janelle sits quietly, with hands pressed tightly into her lap. Meri nervously twitches fingers as the faint sound of anxious breathing leaves her lips and fills the otherwise silent room. Then, gradually, the testimony takes a darker turn. The witness reveals private conversations, clandestine meetings, secret decisions no one outside the family had known. Kody's eyes widen in shock, unbelief fluttering across his face, which usually showed composure. Robyn purses her lips tightly, trying to wear a composed mask as the emotional heaviness of each new revelation threatens to overwhelm her. Christine leans forward, gaze sharpening, looking into micro-expressions, every nuance, every subtle pause. Janelle bites her lip to hold the tears, while Meri's shoulders quiver a little as sobs rack her body, trying to break free. The revelation that comes from the witness is so explosive that it seems the courtroom has held its collective breath. One of the wives has been implicated in a secret that had been carefully hidden for years. An act of betrayal that could completely alter the family dynamic. Gasps ripple through the room, the tension almost physical and weighing heavy on every person there. Robyn's eyes lock with Kody's, filled with hurt, disbelieving, and raw accusation. Christine's face is unreadable, cloaking the calculations racing through her head. Janelle's hands grip the edge of her dress, knuckles white, and Meri whites at her cheeks, unable to hide the trembling of her lips. The defense attorney gets up, pacing the courtroom with studied, deliberating control. His shoes scrape softly against the floor. Every step a metronome, ticking down the inevitable tension. His voice is smooth and authoritative. He challenges the credibility of the witness, but does so smoothly to turn the narrative in favor of the family. But the witness is steady, every answer carefully measured, each detail deepening the cracks in the facade the family built over the years. The courtroom is alive with energy, every eye fixed, every sense heightened as tension rises to almost unbearable levels. Kody's calm exterior starts to break down, his hands clenched tightly, and his jaw tightens a notch with each incriminating detail. Robyn's emotions balance on the brink of collapse, anger, betrayal, heartbreak, and fear, all tangled together, each fighting for dominance in her expression. Christine's eyes gleam with calculation and silent triumph as her mind races ahead, considering the ramifications of every word. Janelle bites down on her lip until it whitens, while Meri's tears fall freely and her hands shake as she tries to compose herself. A recording, previously concealed, that reveals a private conversation exposing intentions and manipulations that no one had previously expected, is produced by the witness as a critical piece of evidence. The courtroom collectively gasps. Kody flinches at the sound of his own voice being distorted by context. Robyn presses her palms against her face as she attempts to process the betrayal. Christine sits forward, her eyes narrowing as she mentally calculates how to use this revelation to her advantage. Janelle's fingers quiver as she grasps the bench, and Meri's body shakes as the truth hits her with the force of a physical blow. The witness continues, laying out the sequence of events that led to the betrayal, revealing secret alliances and hidden motives. The jury is forward, attentive to every word. The courtroom becomes a cauldron of emotion, each revelation ratcheting up tension until it seems like at any minute the pressure could explode. Kody shifts uncomfortably, trying to center himself while the realization dawns on him that the foundation of trust in his family unravels before his very eyes. Robyn fights desperately to keep the storm of her emotions from breaking free. Christine's eyes flash, her mind working out coldly what comes next. Janelle's hands shake slightly, and Meri's breathing is labored, shallow, a quiet whisper of panic. Then comes that moment when the witness reveals that the betrayal isn't an isolated case, but part of a larger, hidden web of secrets and manipulations with multiple family members. The courtroom gasps collectively. Kody goes rigid, his face white. Robyn's lips start to quiver, her eyes welling up with tears, finally blurting out a quiet, anguished question. "How could you?" Christine doesn't say a word, but her eyes, pleading on one level, vindication at another, show each possibility balancing. Janelle swallows, hard, trying not to show the tremble of her voice, while Meri leans forward, holding herself together with willpower alone. The prosecutor leans forward and presents additional evidence, emails, messages, documents that corroborate the truth of the witness's words. Each piece puts a different notch in the narrative. Every new detail of an intricate web of lies and hidden truths springs into place. Kody's hands clench into fists until his knuckles are white. His jaw is clenched, his mind racing through every decision, every action taken that could have eventually brought them to this pass. Robyn's breathing quickens as it dawns on her that the betrayal cannot be denied. Christine's sharp gaze cuts around the room, attending reactions, weighing vulnerability, calculating strategy. Janelle's face has gone white. Every muscle is taut. Meri sobs without restraint, shaking beneath her emotional burden. The session culminates when the witness makes a final, shocking revelation, a secret from years ago that nobody expected, which may redefine the course of the trial and the future of the family. The judge raises her eyebrows, the gavel poised but not striking. There is silence, heavy and suffocating. Every person in this courtroom is frozen, caught up in the gravity of the moment. Kody's hands shake slightly. Robyn swallows hard, tears brimming. Christine's eyes glint with quiet calculation. Janelle presses her hands together desperately. Meri's body quivers under the weight of the shock. As the session adjourns for a brief recess, the courtroom empties out slowly. Whispers ripple down the halls. Robyn and Christine exchanged a glance filled with suspicion, wariness, and unspoken tension. Kody retreated to a quiet corner, silent and contemplative, his mind racing through the implications of each revelation. Janelle and Meri cling to each other for support, praying the family bonds will make it through an emotional onslaught. Outside the room, speculation murmurs through the air, anticipation almost unbearable. The session closes, leaving the audience hanging. The next revelation promises to be even more explosive, and no one can predict the fallout. The secrets unearthed are only the beginning, and the family is being pulled into a storm that threatens to engulf them wholly. The fourth day of the trial begins with a courtroom that feels charged, almost electric. Every chair is occupied, every eye fixed intently on unfolding drama. Kody enters first, his usual composure replaced with tense rigidity. Shoulders tight, jaw set. Robyn follows closely behind, hands interlaced in front of her, knuckles white, her eyes scanning the courtroom as if searching for a threat from every corner. Christine strides in with calculated precision, heels clicking sharply against the floor, each step announcing her presence. Her face is calm, but her eyes gleam with a hard intensity, as an individual calculating every word, every movement, every reaction. Janelle and Meri trail behind, their whispers barely audible, yet urgent attempts at reassuring themselves. Fear was evident with every trembling of their voices. The judge raises her gavel, calling the room to order, and the air is almost thick with anticipation. The next witness, a former assistant who had intimate knowledge of the family's private dealings, is called to the stand. Their presence immediately alters the energy in the room and sends a ripple of tension to every corner. The audience in the courtroom instinctively leans forward, riveted by the promise of revelations long buried. The witness begins very cautiously, relating mundane events, small disagreements, and moments that at the time seemed so insignificant. Kody sits rigid, his fingers tapping nervously on the edge of the table, his jaw clenched. Robyn's lips press together, her eyes dart, reflecting both recognition and dread as she recalls the same events through the lens of personal memory. Christine's eyes remain sharp, analyzing, calculating, dissecting every word for hidden meaning. Janelle clasps her hands tightly, trying to keep her composure, while Meri's fingers twist the corner of her tissue, trembling as each moment of the past is resurrected in painstaking detail. Then, bit by bit, the witness shifts, the tone altering from measured to urgent. They begin to reveal intimate, previously hidden interactions, secret communications, covert decisions, strategic moves that had been shrouded from the rest of the family. Kody's eyes widen, disbelief flickers across his face. Robyn presses her palms into her lap, fighting to control the wave of emotion threatening to break free. Christine leans forward slightly, her gaze razor-sharp, absorbing every subtle gesture, every fleeting expression, analyzing the room with precision. Janelle's lip trembles. Meri swallows hard, her chest tightening as the gravity of the revelations begins to sink in. The witness suddenly drops a bomb that sends shockwaves through the courtroom. One of the wives is implicated in a secret betrayal, hidden for several years. The room fills with gasps, the tension so thick it is akin to weight pushing against each person present. Robyn and Kody exchange eyes, a barrage of hurt, denial, and silent accusation flashing between them. Christine calmly masks a surge of satisfaction and strategic thought. Janelle clutches the edge of the bench so forcefully that her knuckles turn white, while Meri's trembling hands finally let go of her tissue, spilling down tears onto her face. The defense attorney rises and crosses deliberately across the courtroom floor. Every step echoes with tense silence. The words are smooth, deliberate, and authoritative, an immediate challenge to the credibility of the witness. Subtly reframing the narrative toward the family, the witness gives calm, precise answers that detail further cracks in the facade. The courtroom is alive with tension, an entity living and breathing around its captive inhabitants. Kody's composed exterior begins to fracture. His hands clench, the jaw tight, as he tries to process each new piece of information. The raw emotion plays across Robyn's face, barely contained behind clenched teeth and quivering lips. Christine's eyes gleam with calculation, her mind racing with how to react to each revelation. Janelle's teeth sink into her lip, and Meri is shaking uncontrollably, barely holding it together as tears continue falling. And then the witness brings out the critical evidence, a series of letters, emails, and text messages that will show secret planning, ulterior motives, and manipulative behavior. Each is another thread pulled from the thin fabric of trust that had glued the family together. Kody leans back slightly, processing the enormity of the evidence presented. Robyn presses her palms to her face, her eyes showing a mix of shock and heartbreak. Christine is leaning forward, weighing each word and reaction carefully. Janelle's hands shake, and Meri's shoulders heave as she struggles not to break down. Then, the most explosive revelation yet surfaces. A secret alliance within the family, one nobody knew about, including Kody. The courtroom gasps audibly. Kody stiffens, eyes wide, as he realizes that not all betrayals are visible, and not all alliances are predictable. Robyn bursts into free-falling tears, her trembling hands clutching at the bench as she tries to process the emotional upheaval. Christine remains poised, her eyes glinting with a mixture of triumph and wariness. Janelle leans forward slightly, wordlessly praying for clarity. Meri sobs softly, her body shaking under the weight of the revelation. The witness continues, recounting detailed sequences of actions, words, and covert communications that illustrate a web of manipulation, secret strategies, and long-held grudges. Each new detail tightens the tension, as if the room itself is closing in on the family. Kody fidgets, trying to ground himself as he faces the undeniable evidence. Robyn's voice quivers as she confronts him, asking questions she never thought she would have to. Christine remains a calculating presence, parsing each word, anticipating reactions and weighing opportunities. Janelle and Meri cling to each other, their fear almost palpable. The prosecutor leans forward, presenting a recording that had been hidden for years, a private conversation that exposes intentions, schemes, and motivations no one had dared speak aloud. The courtroom gasps collectively as Kody's voice, twisted by context, fills the air. Robyn presses her palms to her face, sobbing quietly, the heartbreak raw and undeniable. Christine leans forward slightly, her lips curling into a subtle, unreadable smile. Janelle bites her lip, trying to suppress the tremor in her voice, and Meri's body shakes violently as the truth hits her with unrelenting force. The defense scrambles to regain control, but the emotional impact is undeniable. The jury leans in, transfixed, their eyes fixed on the witness, the family, and the unfolding drama. Each revelation feels like a punch. Each new piece of evidence, another blow to the already fragile trust between family members. Kody's jaw tightens, his composure slipping further. Robyn's tears fall, mingling with rising heartbreak and anger. Christine's calculated expression conceals a strategy forming, a plan to turn revelations into leverage. Janelle's hands shake, and Meri's sobs break the silence in quiet, stifled bursts. Then comes the last bombshell of the session. The witness reveals an even deeper secret, something that could completely alter the course of the trial and the future of the family. The courtroom collectively freezes, the gravity of the moment weighing down like a physical force. Caught in a mix of shock, fear, and anticipation, every single person is frozen. Kody's hands clench, his knuckles white, and his jaw tight. Robyn's hands are shaking, grasping the bench for support, as if trying to ground herself against an emotional tsunami. Christine leans slightly forward, her eyes sharp, calculating her next move. Janelle utters a silent prayer, and Meri's tears fall unchecked, her body quivering. As the session adjourns, the courtroom empties out slowly. Whispers fill the hallways. Alliances visibly shift. Suspicion and mistrust hang palpably in the air. Robyn and Christine exchange a look, an unspoken tension. A fragile alliance tinged with wariness. Kody retreats to a corner, silent and contemplative, trying to absorb the full scope of the revelations. Janelle and Meri cling to each other, hearts pounding, hoping the family bonds can withstand the emotional onslaught. Leaving the audience breathless, the cliffhanger palpable, the question lingers. What will happen when the trial resumes? The secrets revealed in Session 4 are not just shocking, but transformative, changing relationships and the balance of power within the family forever. And as the gavel falls, the question lingers. Who will survive this storm, and who will be irreparably broken? The courtroom opens again, and it is as though the walls are holding their breath in anticipation. Kody steps in first, the stiffness in his gait belying the storm inside his head. His face is pale, the jaw clenched tightly, eyes darting around the room in quick, wild arcs. Like a man trying to find a lifeline on the uncharted waters of uncertainty. Robyn comes next, her hands clasped together in front of her body, her nails digging deep into her palms. Her lips are pursed, and her eyes water, with the after effects of the tears that she had cried in the previous session. The careful movement of her body, suggestive of a tightrope walker, who seeks to avoid being swallowed up by the chaos that threatens to overwhelm her. Christine marches in next, each step of her heels hitting sharp on the courtroom floor. She exudes calmness, an almost feral serenity, her eyes cutting through the room, reading the reaction of every person present. Janelle and Meri follow, quieter yet no less tense, whispering soft reassurances to themselves as they ready for the revelations to come. The judge calls the session to order, and the courtroom falls silent. The air hangs heavy, almost suffocatingly so, charged with expectation. The next witness is one who has sat front and center to the family's hidden conflicts, someone whose knowledge has the power to tip everything so carefully constructed in these proceedings. As they approach the stand, the energy in the room intensifies, a current of suspense running through every spectator, jury member, and family member alike. The witness comes out cautiously, relating the years of small disagreements and misunderstandings within the family. It is innocuous at first, almost banal. Kody's fingers gently drum against the table, a nervous metronome in the taut silence. Robyn narrows her eyes to scan the witness, searching for truth or deceit behind every word. Christine's posture remains straight, but her gaze is relentless, watching for any slight shift, any micro-expression. Janelle sits quietly, hands folded tightly in her lap, while Meri's lips press together, taut with desperation to keep her feelings in check. And then, as he continues his testimony, the witness starts peeling back the layers and begins to expose the hidden tensions, clandestine conversations, veiled threats, and covert meetings that reveal a web of manipulation no one outside this family could ever have imagined. Kody winces at every word, clearly disbelieving what he hears. Robyn presses her palms together in her lap, trying to steady herself as her mind whirls at every new thing that she hears. Christine leans forward, thin-lipped, and her eyes analyze every reaction to catch the least sign of weakness. Janelle's fingers twitch, clutching at the bench nervously. Meri's shoulders shake with the tidal wave of emotion that threatens to engulf her. Then comes a revelation so shocking that the courtroom collectively inhales, suspended in disbelief. The witness then launches an accusation of one of the wives. Deliberate manipulation acts, designed to shift power and control within the family. Gasps ripple quietly through the room. Robyn's eyes widen, tears threatening to spill as she stares at Kody. Christine's expression remains measured, though a flash of triumph appears in her eyes. Janelle's hands clench, knuckles white, and Meri's breathing becomes uneven, shallow, as the emotional weight threatens to overwhelm her. The defense attorney rises, pacing the room with controlled authority. His voice, smooth, steady, and piercing. He challenges the credibility of the witness, but subtly shapes the narrative in favor of the family. And yet, every answer from the witness feels like a hammer striking the foundations of trust, revealing cracks that had not been visible previously. The tension in the courtroom grows, thickening, like smoke, almost impossible to breathe. Kody fidgets in his seat, his stoic veneer beginning to crack under the pressure. Anger, hurt, and incredulity mingle together in a maelstrom of emotion that causes Robyn's lips to quiver wildly. Christine is a portrait of calculated calm, her eyes gleaming with anticipation as she weighs every word and its reaction. Janelle shakes as she clasps her hands together in silent prayer, and Meri's tears fall freely now, her body shaking under the relentless weight of emotional strain. The witness produces evidence that had been long hidden, a series of letters and emails that confirm manipulations, secret alliances, and long-concealed motives. Each document adds to the tension, each revelation a strike against the delicate equilibrium of the family. Kody leans back in his chair, jaw tight, processing implications. Robyn presses her palms to her face, her breathing rapid as heartbreak and anger mix in equal measure. Christine leans forward slightly, eyes narrowing, calculating strategy, even as shock ripples through the room. Janelle's hands shake and she grips the bench for support, while Meri's shoulders shake with sobs she can no longer contain. And then, the final blow, the most devastating revelation of the session. The witness exposes a previously unknown scheme, one which implicates several of the family members directly in a betrayal that threatens to redefine everything. The courtroom freezes collectively. Even the judge pauses, her pen hovering over her notepad. Kody's fists are white-knuckled as composure slips further away. Robyn's tears finally spill without reserve as her body trembles at the weight of this betrayal. Christine remains poised, but the glint in her eyes betrays satisfaction tempered with caution. Janelle leans forward and mouths silently for clarity, and Meri's sob breaks the oppressive silence. The prosecutor leans in and adds another layer of evidence, a recording of a private conversation that had been hidden for years. The voices within the recording reveal intentions, conflicts, and manipulations that no one in the courtroom is expecting. The weight of this revelation is palpable. Kody's face, drains of color, and shock and hurt are etched across every feature. Robyn's trembling hands press into her face as tears flow freely. Christine leans forward slightly, her lips curling into a subtle, unreadable smile. Janelle's trembling hands grip the bench for support, and Meri's body shudders violently with sobs. The witness continues with a complex sequence of actions and motives hidden therein, revealing a deep network of manipulation and secrecy. The jury leans in, captivated, their focus absolute. The courtroom becomes almost claustrophobic as each new revelation adds to the suffocating intensity. Kody shifts uncomfortably, trying to anchor himself as he comprehends the enormity of what is being exposed. Robyn finally finds her voice, trembling and asking him quiet, heart-wrenching questions. Christine's eyes flash with calculation, measuring opportunity against risk. Janelle clings to the bench, whispering silent prayers, and Meri weeps quietly, taken in by the emotional impact. Then comes the final bombshell, the insinuation of a deeper secret, one that has been kept hidden for years, which may completely rewrite the course of the trial and the family's future. The courtroom sinks into a strained silence as every heartbeat is magnified. Kody's hands clench at his sides, his knuckles whitening. Robyn is shaking, leaning forward, trying to keep herself together. Christine leans in, her eyes razor-sharp, her lips pursed in a thin line that gives nothing away. Janelle whispers quick, silent prayers, while Meri's tears continue to fall, her sobs slicing through the weighted silence. As the session adjourns, the courtroom empties out slowly. Whispers of speculation fill the hallways. Robyn and Christine exchange a suspicious, cautious glance of alliance in a complicated dance. Kody retreats to a quiet corner, silent and thoughtful, trying to understand the chaos unfolding. Janelle and Meri cling to each other, hearts pounding, hoping that what's left of the family will survive. The audience is left on a cliffhanger, unable to ignore it, dying to see what transpires next. The revelations in Session 5 are transformative, changing trust, alliances, and the emotional dynamics in this family. The storm is far from over, and in the next session, the family and the audience will be taken even closer to the breaking point.